So Tesla's been having a bad time, and you could argue that that might be Elon Musk's fault. I would argue that it is. They've seen an unprecedented amount of people protesting Tesla products, Tesla dealerships, Elon Musk himself, and this didn't all come out of a bubble. Now, the point here isn't to talk about whether what's happening is right or wrong, but really just to talk about why. Years ago, Elon Musk was not nearly as a divisive figure as he is now. Up to the point of him taking control of Twitter, there was a turn, there was a change that a lot of people picked up on. He used to position himself kind of as this champion of the people, whose goal was to make everyone's lives better, ostensibly by taking us into space and etc., etc. But enough people believed in that goal. They believed that what he wanted to do was ultimately good. And we've seen a change since then. He's definitely, I would say, from my opinion, gotten much saltier, especially in terms of people's identities, people's political beliefs, and I mean, it's concerning to see how fast that change was. Some people argue that it was kind of him trying to get in with another crowd, I guess, in a way to speak, trying to be more appealing to edgier folks. I think it was more of either a serious personal shift or potentially something that he's been carrying for much longer than we realized. Now it's bearing fruit, and that fruit is not good for his company. We've seen the Tesla stocks drop pretty rapidly over the last few months, especially since he, shouldn't say took office, but especially since he started heading up the Department of Government Efficiency and has arguably been making questionable decisions in that position, which is not a position that's existed in American government before. Before that, he made some questionable moves during the election with what some would argue was paying people off for votes. I'm not saying that he did do that, but I am saying that what he did there was shady. That's a topic for another day. What he definitely has done pretty publicly over the last few years, especially since taking control of Twitter, which he rebranded to X, has been cozying up with people that you generally shouldn't want to cozy up with. People that spew hateful rhetoric, whether it be along racial lines or the lines of sexual orientation, or generally kind of spewing vitriol at, in a way, the left in general. Which, I mean, by that point, it wasn't so much out of character, but compared to, I don't know, I want to say Elon from 2016, it's a pretty marked difference. And people have picked up on that, and people have gotten upset about that. I think a big part of this vitriol that people have toward him now definitely come from his more recent actions, because even as he was getting, how should I say, a bit saltier with what he was saying on X, people weren't really protesting him at this level with this intensity. And I do believe that his Roman salute has a lot to do with that. I think that was a point where a lot of people started to look at what he was doing all together, all as one big mass that creates a picture, and the picture is not very good. Aligning himself with the president he aligned himself with while supporting far-right ideologies and far-right parties in multiple countries, not just in America, kind of waging war against what he calls the woke mind virus. Sorry to keep using air quotes. I just think the term is silly. Altogether, these things don't paint a good picture. And they've come back to Tesla. They've made Tesla this kind of focal point, from my perspective, of a lot of people's ire. Because Tesla is an accessible thing. We can access Tesla. There are Tesla cars, there are Tesla dealerships, Tesla charging stations, Tesla products that people can target, that they can boycott in a meaningful way. And we're seeing that now. And on the most extreme end, we're seeing people do physical damage to Tesla vehicles, Tesla dealerships, Tesla in any way that they can. And I'm not about to start a debate about whether or not that is right. My intention here more is to just look at why. And I think I've kind of laid out why already. It's the connections that he's made. It's the allegiances that he's publicly made with people that, from where a lot of folks sit, seek to do harm. Whether it's the Trump administration or far-right political parties or what you could say are far-right provocateurs or even supremacists of certain types, people are getting fed up with it. And I think this is the result. And I think that this was entirely avoidable. None of this needed to happen. You can argue none of it needs to happen, but people feel as though it does now. And that's why we're seeing what is happening. And he could have avoided all of this. Now, I'm not sure what, if anything, he could do at this point. I mean, we're in a situation where Tesla shareholders are starting to get a little bit more vocal about wishing that he would focus more on Tesla and less on DOGE. And there are a lot of people who are even outside of Tesla, who are outside of the particular political sphere that this all exists in, who are concerned about what he's doing there in terms of gutting cybersecurity departments and various other departments that are more necessary than he seems to realize. So I guess I wonder what's going to happen going forward. Because if he continues to align himself with unsavory folk, I mean, the protests against him aren't going to stop. I imagine that they would increase. I imagine that people would get more upset. And if there does come a point where he makes such a misstep in his government appointment that he starts ruining people's lives, I mean, how should I put this most delicately? We've seen what happens when people get upset enough. And I mean, I would assume that he has some sense of self-preservation in terms of business, in terms of general existence. I suspect that he doesn't want to become the largest pariah ever. But he's going that direction. He's choosing to go that direction, and he's dragging his businesses down with it, or at least Tesla. I can't speak to SpaceX so much. But I do know a good few people who have opinions about SpaceX that are not very positive, despite whatever they're doing. And that affects his employees to an extent. I mean, there are people in these organizations that rely on him for a paycheck, that rely on his companies not failing for their paycheck, for their livelihoods, for their benefits, to survive. So what happens if, for instance, something goes under, if there has to be some massive restructuring because he's destroyed his brand's trust so much that now it affects his employees? Granted, I'm not sure how much that matters to him in the end, because I do remember that during COVID, back when we were all kind of stuck inside for a little while, he made the choice to defy orders in several of his production facilities in Alameda County, which netted him, I forget, probably some citations or something, but resulted in him moving a good bit of his operation away from California, especially the Bay Area. So, yeah, I get why people have ire, because I feel like things have been bubbling for quite a bit, and his latest actions have kind of increased the fire, for lack of a better term at the moment. Yeah. I'm curious what will happen. I personally hope that things won't get out of hand, and you can argue that they already have gotten out of hand. But I wonder what Elon Musk is going to do about it. If he's going to see any kind of error in what he's done, if he's going to take any steps to evaluate his own character in this situation, or if this is just going to continue to be a symptom of the woke mind virus, or some other excuse. I guess that's kind of what I have. I don't have answers. I don't have a debate here. I just see what's happening, and I'm concerned. So, I guess, what's your opinion? What do you think? How do you think this problem could have been averted? Do you think it could have been averted? Do you think there's anything Elon Musk can do to regain the trust of people who are selling off their Tesla stock, their Tesla products, be them cars, whatever? Do you think that his allegiances have already put him too far off the deep end? Do you think he himself has just gone too far off the deep end? Has his brand been completely tarnished at this point? I'm curious.